we're back on the street with today's Frontier opening bell. Welcome everyone to the show. This is the second market day. Let's run you through the first trading day. Egyptian markets came out shining Monday, having started the week on Sunday with about 2.75%, added 0.6% yesterday. Took the EGX30 much stronger to the top end of 29,000. But take it from the top of the table with Nigerian markets down 403 billion naira in local currency yesterday. We did roughly $7.8 million into the turnover. A very active trading day. However, two of Nigeria's biggest cement makers, Boa Cement and Lafarge Africa, dragged the market. The industrial goods sector was down 3.93%. Banking index was also down, dragged by JITCO, whose public offer ended yesterday, 44.50 naira on the market street. That's the first of the Nigerian banks to conclude its bank recapitalization public offer within the last couple of months. That's some good news. The market was a buzz yesterday. Roughly 130 million units of JITCO shares were traded. Then we saw Zenith Bank also fell yesterday, the biggest bank by market value. So that was the story. Broadly speaking, the BRVM was down by 0.27% below the 250 reading, 247.86. The Nairobi stock market started the week on a back foot in 11 basis points. The South African GSE fell 0.22%, holding the tailcoat of 80,500 on the GSE. Friday was a public holiday in South Africa, and the market started Monday on a soft note. But of course, you know the news around the GSE yesterday. Sasol, the big energy and chemical company, reporting 55 billion rand loss for the full year ended June 30th. Says the earnings is going to be very brutal when it's released in the next couple of weeks. Keep that in mind. Roll that over for me. And let me take you through the East Africa's top stories to just start the second day of the week. We'll get back to OPEC latest reports in a short while, but Equity Bank reporting first half 2024. Dr. James Mwangi, the Group Managing Director and CEO, doing investor briefing in Nairobi on Monday. Profit jumps 12% to roughly 30 billion shillings between January and June. Stanbic Bank is tapping about 5.2 billion shillings loan from DEG to boost capital in East Africa, where Safaricom in Ethiopia reporting active customers portfolio of 4.6 million in the second quarter ended June, April, May, and June. In Uganda, inflation raises as underlying price pressure continued to mount in President Museveni's economy. Afrexim Bank and Uganda, however, signed a project MOU that will support industrialization and exports of the East African landlocked economy. Finally, in East Africa, Rwanda has beaten Tanzania and Kenya in cheap broadband internet. Coming from the back, keep your eye on that tech summit taking place in Rwanda in the next couple of weeks. That's your briefing for East Africa. Let's step into West Africa. And of course, yesterday, the Nigeria's debt management opened the August monthly savings bonds, selling papers maturing 2026 and 2027, 17.37% for 2026 paper and 18.373%. That's the yield on the savings bond maturing 2027. But broadly speaking, OPEC reporting lower forecast of the global oil demand for this year, slightly lower, 135,000 barrels per day to 2.1 million barrels per day. OPEC says in the latest monthly report that that's still the biggest since the pandemic, when demand was around 1.4 million barrels per day. Demand for next year, 2025, will taper by about 65,000 barrels per day. Where is the demand coming from? This year, OPEC says OECD countries will bring 0.2 million barrels barrels to the table, while the non-OECD countries will grow 1.9 million barrels per day. Keep those numbers in mind. Ghana, however, is looking at $15 billion in downside because of export restrictions over the next 5 years. That's according to latest data. In Liberia, the petroleum refining companies breaking ground for two major infrastructure projects. You've got the biggest refinery in Africa in Nigeria. Liberia is building its own refinery, and they want to put it on stream as quickly as possible. And according to the IFR from Hong Kong, a new study shows that sub-Saharan African banks and corporates are weighing on bond issuance within the emerging and frontier marketplace. Those are your headlines in West Africa. Let's go down to Southern Africa. Sasol numbers came in brutal, shooting the market in between the eyes on Monday, taking the GSE All-Share Index down. That's giant, reporting 55.1 billion rand, roughly $3 billion in losses for its full year ended June. That's it. The books are written because of the write-downs. Full year loss, of course, that is in view. We see the numbers as it were. They said the devil is always in the details. Good news, however, as GSE listed, Goldfields acquired the entire Canada's Cisco mining operations. It's a 29 billion rand takeover. And that's also in the news when we started the week. Bright secured about 1.5 billion rand in fully subscribed right offer, which was given to existing shareholders. That's also in South Africa. In Zambia, the country says it's closing borders with Congo, blocking copper exports from the country to Congo in Central Africa. And finally, the African Risk Capacity and Agency of the African Union says at least claim payouts for natural disasters on the continent to $160 million over the last 10 years. So far this year, we've seen millions of dollars being paid out to Zimbabwe, to Malawi, and of course, you got Zambia as well. Climate disasters, climate change, causing serious flooding and droughts within the Southern Africa and a bit of that into East African corridor. Those are your headlines. Southern Africa. Let's finish up north there. And of course, you've got Egypt and the AFDB. Let's start with the AFDB, of course, floating or launching Algeria's country-specific economic reports in mid-September. That report will show that Algeria's economy will grow 4.0% this year, but that is expected to taper slightly to around 3.5, 3.7% for 2025, a period. And construction started on the Mahdi Yacoub Rwanda Egypt Heart Center. If you add that to the pharmaceutical major expansion consumer healthcare in the MENA region, which is the Middle East and North Africa, you can see where North Africa, including Egypt, is extending handshake in the healthcare pharmaceutical sector with Rwanda in East Africa. And finally, Egypt's central bank is offering this week treasury bills, Euro-denominated, worth about 600 million for foreign investors. Now you can understand why the stock markets jumped on Sunday as well as on Monday. Today is the second trading day of the week, broadly speaking, and let's see how things go. That's it all for this Tuesday, the 13th of August on your Frontier Opening Bell. I am Bosin Namofa. I wish you a profitable day and see you again tomorrow.